Sono lieto di poter rievocare in poche parole le esperienze delle prime trasmissioni radiotelegrafiche a grandi distanze da me felicemente eseguite attraverso l'Oceano Atlantico il 12 dicembre 1901.
Holy snapping bra straps.
It's a government run by criminals.
Republic of Avalon Radio. It's 0 hours, Avalon Standard Time. Republic of Avalon Radio.
The best radio in the whole wide world.
You're with the Lord.
Well, greetings all. This is the Jimster coming right at you. I'm just following the Lilster down over the steps. And we are embarking upon a little stroll, as we usually tend to do when we sound like this. But we're going to have to take it slow on this stroll.
Okay.
Because I hurt my leg the other night. My foot, actually my ankle, and my knee on my right side. So I'm just a little discombobulated. Not too seriously. But yeah, there we have it.
Mild discombobulation.
Yes, semi-discombobulation. It's a semi-discombobulation. So, yeah, just kind of getting over all the, the Roar birthday stuff and all that, and the me birthday stuff. And just on our way here to bring sort of things to their culmination. This is like, sort of like tomorrow is the first day of the rest of our lives kind of thing.
Yeah.
This
is... We're on our way to see the Steve Miller Band.
We are indeed.
Which is Jim's birthday present.
Which is Jim and Lillian's birthday present.
I get to share it, which is fantabulous.
Yeah. We like this. I'm thinking about giving her a big box of drumsticks for her birthday coming up. What the hell? What's that?
It's a truck.
What kind of a bizarre truck is that?
It's just I don't know. I think it has some problems maybe.
Well, folks, as you just heard, if you want to verify, just rewind back and listen to that truck. That truck sounded mighty strange to me. What kind of a truck was it?
It's a Chevy.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was one of them queer foreign ones.
F-150 or something.
I thought for sure it was one of them queer old foreign rigs, one of them
really?
things. I did indeed, yeah. Well, so yes, tomorrow is the first day of the rest of our lives. And right now we're just walking. Oh, it's beautiful. It's just, isn't it just wonderful?
Gorgeous, yeah.
It's
one of the first real nice. We've only had a few really so far.
Well, it's funny. It changed on the day of my birthday. It just went up from, I don't know, some sort of dismal sort of temperature that we weren't keeping track of to sort of hitting about the 70 mark, and it's been nice ever since. And even now, it's in the evening, going on 8 o'clock kind of thing.
It's like the first day of summer, your birthday.
This year is funny. Not to say that it probably won't cool off again or whatever, but Yeah, it was like that. It just came out of nowhere, just right to the day. It was amazing. It was like summer commenced with my birthday this year. Okay, I can see walking down the hill here now. It's not bad, but it's just a matter of we have to be careful that we don't hit one of those things and I have a stumble and then kind of aggravate or further injure what's sort of already kind of partially healed. That's the worst thing about these little injuries that you suffer. You know, you gotta really, really kind of be careful with them, because what you don't want to do is re-injure them. Right, folks? So keep that in mind. Jim Fiddler says, when you're injured, be careful about re-injury. Re-injury, yes. You must watch out for this.
Definitely.
It's nasty stuff.
Yeah.
It's all bad enough.
I hope that this is going to be good for your leg, actually. Overall.
Well, I was thinking about that too, yes.
And good for everything, like, you know, just
Yes.
get out and get some fresh air. And
Good for my left elbow.
good for your circulation.
Well, I'm circulating. I'm getting out and about, aren't I?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Indeed.
We are circulating. We're going to be circulating big time tonight.
Yeah.
In this big building with a whole bunch of people.
With thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Thousands and thousands and thousands.
And we're sitting right on the floor.
We are.
Not on the floor itself. but-
Yeah, and in like sitting in what do you
got
call
really
the
good
Indian position. They're giving us a rug each when we go in.
A flying carpet.
We used to get garbage
for
bags.
Abracadabra.
Yes. For abracadabra. That's right. They used to make us get on the dirty old floor at my school in kindergarten. They would make us get on the dirty old floor, and boy, I tell you, that floor was dirty. On garbage bags. That was our nap. That was our nap time.
Aww.
That was our rest period.
Wow.
They get you out of your seats. You know, why not just like, you know, tell us to bring cushions from home, and you know, there's a little compartment in your seat that you could just keep that there, and then when it was time for rest time, you could put the pillow cushion thing on your desk in front of you and just kind of fold your arms and put your face down. Yeah, put your head down. Yeah.
That's very sad.
But instead, they made us all get out of our seats and get down on the dirty old floor where we would spread out a garbage bag, and then
So they wouldn't do that today because they'd be worried about children like asphyxiating on their garbage bags.
yeah, kids can't handle stuff like that anymore, can they? Yeah, kids don't seem to be able to handle a good whooping anymore these days either. You notice that?
Well, they also can't handle
Little
peanut
smart
butter.
ass little smart asses.
I want to know what happened with the peanut.
The peanut thing, that absolutely, I just can't figure out what about the whole peanut biz.
So did somebody put some kind of strain of something in the peanut?
Well, actually, you know what? You know, we're talking kind of pop culture, because we do know a heck of a lot more about what's going on with all that peanut and all that stuff, but we just don't want to be too controversial here on our friendly little show.
Right.
Right?
Exactly, yeah.
We knows things what we don't talk about much or barely at all on the show here, because it upsets people. It might just throw people's days off or something like that, you know, to discover maybe that they're not quite living in the Disneyland they think they are.
There's more going on in the land of the roar.
Oz than meets the eye.
Yes.
Yeah. Indeed.
There's more going on everywhere, actually.
Well, when you think about it, look at the 6 o'clock news, for example, or the 6 o'clock snooze, I call it. You're getting a little bite of this, a little bite of that, a little bite of something else. Nobody who ever just sort of reads the paper and watches the 6 o'clock news and couples that with maybe, you know, a general public school education and maybe a bit of college or something, maybe even a lot of college, could sensibly consider themselves to be well informed. It's ludicrous when you think about it.
Talk about like how uneducated the people in general, the mass.
No. How educated they are.
Well, yeah, educated, yeah, but
That's what I'm talking about.
exactly. Now, why is it that's the 4th police car I just saw? 5. Okay,
5
this
now.
is the 5th one. I know why.
Why?
Because we're passing by Tim Hortons.
That'll do it every time.
Yeah.
Bad cop, no donut.
Exactly.
Indeed. Does it look like I'm holding the recorder here from a distance in the fading light? I might look like I got this lady by the arm and I'm holding aiming some sort of firearm at her head,
Oh my God.
coercing her down the street.
If you start to hear people with bullhorns telling us to stop where
Step
we
away
are.
from the lady. That'll be what that is.
Yeah.
But what were we just talking about before a second ago? A little
We're
bit of
talking
controversy
about
there.
education.
Education? Yeah. Well, there's a fella called, what's his name? John Taylor Gatto, I think his name is. And you want to learn a little bit about the education system? I mean, real, honest to goodness information about the educational system from a person who was widely acknowledged as an absolutely wonderful educator, won like Teacher of the Year in New York City and New York State, and was given all kinds of accolades, I think, and from the White House, and flown around to give speeches, all this stuff. He knows a bit of what he's talking about. He's a lifelong educator, and one that excelled in his field and was acknowledged by his peers and so on and so forth. John Taylor Gatto. He sounds like an assassin, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does actually.
What president?
Mass murder.
What president did he bump off? John Taylor Gatto. Yeah. Anyway, check him out. Do a little search on Start Page, or Google, or Yahoo, or whatever you use, and just look into that. Just educate yourself about the educational system. Educate yourself outside of the educational system. You notice I say educate yourself outside of the educational system in which you were not permitted to educate yourself. You were educated.
Yes,
You see?
exactly.
It's all semantics, but what are semantics, folks? But meaning.
I've lost all faith in especially all of it really, but universities used to be used to think of it as
You better be careful, because there's a lot of people listening.
learning.
There's all 2 of our listeners now. I think we got a smart bunch out there, So they probably have university degrees and probably paid, tens and tens of thousands of dollars for that piece of paper. And you just might be like rocking their boat and questioning the value of their piece of paper.
Well, I'm not saying, I guess, that there's absolutely no value in it, because
Well, if it's going to get you a job so you can keep a roof over your head and feed your children, then I suppose it has a value, doesn't it?
sure it does within the system, and I'm sure there are good instructors, and you get to meet people and hang out and all that.
Yeah, the whole idea is it's not all that, let's put it this way. It's not every soldier in the worst tyrant's army who is tyrannical himself, These are just schmucks, doing their thing. And I have met many post-secondary educational level instructors, speakers, educators, professors, so on, doctoral people, and I can definitely vouch, as you, dear listener, if you have had the same experience as I have in terms of being able to meet with people of this station, of these stations, a lot of them aren't too bright. Basically, a lot of them just ain't too bright. They're not good problem solvers. They're not good individual thinkers. They're not. Everything has to be kind of prescribed and somehow approved by experts and so on before. In other words, you can't think for yourself. I guess, the stereotype of that is the bumbling professor who... you got the tickets?
Yeah.
That's a good thing. The bumbling professor who, can't tie his own shoes, doesn't know how to change a light bulb.
But he's brilliant.
But he's brilliant, yeah, trust me, he's brilliant. Why? Because he goes to class every day and goes, whatever. And a bunch of kids write exams and they get marked on how well, how well or how poorly they regurgitate and get the information that's been beat into their heads and verify that they can't think for themselves and all that sort of stuff. But, unfortunately, it's true. Like I said, it's not all evil. Not every single professor is bad. Not every single cop is bad. Not every single soldier is bad. But I think, probably wouldn't go astray if more people woke up and realized that all priests aren't good, and all teachers aren't good, and all professors aren't good, and all cops aren't good, and all babysitters aren't good, and, woke up and smelled the coffee a little bit and kind of took matters into their own hands a little bit and had to exercise a little bit of discernment and a little bit of, pick and choose in terms of who they let around their children and who they hang out with and who they go for a beer with and who they make millionaires out of by the sweat of their backs. And while they're having trouble paying their own bills, they're out breaking their back, making some other person a millionaire and all that. Probably wouldn't go astray, just for people to just kind of have a little closer look at things, besides just the 6 o'clock snooze. Let's get beyond it, folks. Come on, kids. Kids, there's a lot more out there in the world. A lot more fun. A lot more horror. A lot more absolute, unbelievable horror. But an awful lot more love and fun and knowledge and understanding and so on as well. So, it all depends on how much you belittle yourself. It's directly proportionate to how much you belittle mankind. And if you really belittle yourself, then you're obviously one of those people who thinks mankind is, just generally no good and stupid and greedy and violent by nature and so on. Like a lot of so-called religious people and a lot of so-called scientific people tend to think that way, that babies are born kind of broken and or evil. And I don't know, met a few babies along the way myself too, met a few of them. None of them ever seemed all that terribly broken or so terribly evil to me either. They all seemed rather kind of curious and interested and just dying to kind of get out there and learn and just check the whole thing out. And
I don't remember meeting too many evil babies.
Evil babies? No, me neither. In fact, I remember being...
It's reserved for television.
Yes, I remember being a particularly sort of snappy little rascal myself. But evil? No. I just, I was one of these little kids who would kind of, climb a wall with my fingernails, sort of thing,
You were the little monkey.
I was the little monkey boy, yes. Not from an evolutionary sort of sense, though.
No. Just from a little can get anywhere.
Yes. Nothing could restrain me. I could be up a wall and over a door, or up a tree and then over across into another tree. And...
Me too. I was like a mountain goat.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, I could climb anything, like especially going up hills and terrain.
Oh, well,
like,
hold
really...
on to this unit for a moment.
All right.
Take it by this part here. Okay, and so I'd love to hear from some of the listeners in terms of what we're talking about. Does it disturb you, or are you glad to hear somebody talking, you know, openly with, you know, a bit of something other than something other than whatever's mass prescribed through the mass mainstream media and education system and injustice shitstem and all these sorts of things, you know. I think the days when you know, police officers were there to help us find directions, to help us not be lost, to help us when our person or property was being threatened. I think those days are pretty much gone. That's not their number one job anymore. That used to be, or at least the perception and a lot of people's experience was that's what they were for, you know. That was their purpose. And I'll tell you, I've also known, in my lifetime, I've known a few cops as well. And I'll tell you, they would absolutely back up what I said just then. And they would say that they were very glad when they were serving as a peace officer to have helped out as many people as they did, and you know, keep bad guys from doing, instead of you know, setting bad guys up to do bad things in which good people got hurt so they could, you know, fill a quota. They were in the business of crime prevention, not crime quota.
Well, I would say most soldiers too, when they sign up, they're going to be helping
absolutely
people. I don't think they're necessarily bad, you know. They want to get in there and kick some butt and stuff like
Some of them do.
Some of them do, sure.
But honestly, no, I think with a lot of young people who join the military, it's about a job. It's about, you know, it's about that whole side of things.
Some of them feel patriotic too, I think.
And they think they're fighting for freedom and all that. I don't think that's the majority of them, though.
No.
I really don't think that the majority of kids have been devouring all sorts of, you know, historical and historical information, and from all various perspectives, studying various societies and cultures, and learning the other half that hasn't been told, and then studying human psychology and sociology and what makes people tick as individuals or in societies or in groups or whatever. And based on all of that, this 18-year-old decides that he wants to go
I doubt it.
fight in the war or whatever.
I would say, like you just said, most of it is probably, well, a job.
It's a job.
And a career. And a lot of people think a career.
A career, you're going to get a free education out of it somehow.
Early retirement. Lots of money.
Yep. And status.
Yeah, status for sure.
Well, you get to hold your head pretty high, you know.
One thing though, I wouldn't want to wear that ugly uniform.
I call it the uni-conform.
Yeah.
Well, it's a uniform. Uni means one. One form, a single form for everybody.
Uniformity.
You know, and that's, whenever we see that, we know we're in trouble. Because when they force everyone to wear the same stuff, you're either sick in a hospital, you're in a concentration camp, you're in a prison, you're in a school, you're in one of these places, you know, where everybody has to conform to the uni, to the one. Well, interestingly enough, too, a lot of people call university uni.
Well, then absolutely no individuality, because they all have to shave their heads and wear the same uniform, basically. Yep. So there's no individuality. And I think that is kind of taken out of you, too, like in boob camp, from what I've...
Did you say boob camp?
No, no, I didn't say boob camp.
Okay.
I wonder if there is such a thing as boob camp.
I don't know, but she signed me up for that one. Man, oh man. Yes, like a blind nudist beach. Now there's fun in the sun. An all blind nudist colony.
You're gonna have to play the Braille Playboy thingy again sometime.
The Braille Playboy. Oh yeah, you know.
That's brilliant.
That's something now. Speaking of past episodes and things and whatever. What was that? Was that me or was that?
It was Eddy read that, didn't
Eddy Mailbag. Oh, it was, yeah. It was one of them things, yeah. Yes, indeed.
It's very funny.
But yeah, as I was saying, folks, I myself would love to hear. You know, quite frankly, I've come to the conclusion that the roar is not, you know, it's not the place, generally speaking. Like, if I wanted to get some sort of show going in earnest where I discussed certain things, I would do so. You know, the roar isn't exactly for that, but at the same time, it's our lives. And I mean, we can't sit back in the future and listen to ourselves just kind of playing, you know, Peter and Penelope Cottontail and not saying what we mean and not meaning what we say and just being all airy-fairy and just talking about the weather and whoever the American Idol is and all this kind of stuff. You know, we just, it's not the way we operate, it's not the way we think. And it kind of doesn't really represent us very accurately or very well in terms of whatever overstanding that we may have at this particular point in our lives on this self-educating school of life journey that we're on. Well, that was a mouthful, wasn't it?
It sure was.
Oh, yeah. Well, keep notes on that one.
Wow.
Yeah, so, but at the same time, well, you know, we like you guys to tag along with us on the little walks and come to festivals, hear a bit of music, talk to a few people, talk to us, all that sort of stuff. And we do want to put the focus, like I've said before, I would really, really like to think that, you know, this platform, this show is for how would I say? Well, you know, one way of describing it is awake. You know, there's various ways of describing that. Awake, what does that mean? Awake and aware. You know, you can think about the Matrix sort of concept, or you can think about it from a Christian perspective, or you can think about it whichever way you like. But what it involves, quite simply, is reaching a point in your life when you realize that perhaps things aren't exactly the way that you thought they were, you know, when you were at some younger point in your life and you were told maybe a lot of lies about things, you know, like about Santa Claus and a few other things like that. But I mean, the list is almost endless. It's not just that. The list goes on and on. It's really incredible.
It's everywhere.
Oh, Johnny, now don't you worry about that. We'll tell you about that when you grow up. Or well, why, Daddy? Why do we have to do that? Shut up and just do it. You know, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't like that as a child.
No. Why people have to just about break their backs working and
For what?
for who?
Where are we?
For what? We're making the turn now to
Oh, we should shut this down and put it away, I think.
Oh, no, not yet.
No?
Still got a ways to go.
Okay. Yeah, so, yeah, to be awake is to be aware and not necessarily taking all your programming from, say, mainstream pop culture or from some bizarre breakaway knee-jerk reaction to that or anything, really. I mean, really, I think even from a perspective, let's say, you know, what some people would call religion. I think people confuse religion and faith and spirituality and who we are. You know, they're all swimming around and people just think they're synonymous with each other. But no, I think it's even, in fact, I know it is. It's some sort of papal bull was issued, and I don't think it's been renounced or withdrawn. If anybody knows that it has been, get in touch with us and let us know. That we are not supposed to read the Bible. You're supposed to keep your nose well out of that, let alone study it. And you're also not supposed to talk to God, let alone ask him questions. You know, you got no business talking to God. You got to go through someone who is higher up on some hierarchy than you are, and all that kind of stuff. And don't think I'm picking on Catholics, because, you know, those couple of little points that I'm talking about, actually you can find in the Catholic Encyclopedia. So that's not coming from, let's say, I'm not some Protestant who doesn't like Catholics or anything like that. In fact, even Protestants are Catholics. What differentiates them is some Catholics are of the Holy Church of Rome and some aren't. Once
Remember we had that realization the other night that
Protestants, yeah.
Pick you up.
I know. He was laughing then.
It's holy John.
Oh my god.
What's going on?
It's a bit, one of these big tanker trucks just almost came up on the sidewalk
Yeah.
while he was making the turn.
Yeah, indeed. Just what you need.
And he's laughing.
He's laughing?
Because I moved away.
Who, the guy in the truck?
Yeah.
Hey. Is he blowing at us?
No, it's this guy ahead of us.
Oh, okay.
Someone he knew.
Is we almost there?
He's almost there.
So should I put this away now?
Not quite.
Okay, well, we'll wind it down anyway. We didn't intend to get all serious on you folks, but you know what? There's nothing wrong with serious, I don't know.
No, and you
We
know,
were also taught that, weren't we?
exactly.
Don't be serious.
We didn't,
Don't talk about politics or religion or anything like.
And we didn't plan what we were going to talk about. It just sort
No,
of
we
happened,
didn't. We just
didn't
turned on the machine and here we are. But, you know, you think about a society, a healthy society, interactive, freedom of speech and freedom of assembly, and that does not sound like a bunch of people who should be going around with their heads looking, you know, down, looking at the sidewalk, not talking about anything of any serious consequence to their lives and the lives of their children and children's children and stuff like that. That sounds kind of suspicious to me. That sounds very suspicious to me. Any society who's taught along them lines to shut their mouths and do what they're told, but they're free. But you got freedom of speech, but shut up.
Yeah.
You know?
So many things, and I think things are getting tighter and stricter.
Exponentially.
Absolutely. More rules and regulations.
Absolutely. And you don't have to be some kind of big conspiracy theorist to see it happening. I mean, when you saw pictures of guys with submachine guns at train stations in the Soviet Union, and you as an American or a Canadian thought that that was outlandish and totally horrible, and then go try to get the subway in New York City now.
Yeah.
Or if you read 1984 and you heard about Big Brother watching everybody in cameras and everything all over the place, well, now go try walk around London or whatever. So it's not a conspiracy. It's not a theory. It's just a conspiracy. All right, folks?
Yes, and we're going to go and enjoy some good music.
It's Miller time.
Miller time, yeah.
So we'll catch you all right after the show.
Okay.
Over.
Over.
Republic of Avalon Radio.
You're with the road.
Well, hello, out there, to all you Republic of Avalon radio listeners. This is your old friend, Eddy Mailbag. I have something very interesting for you. Playboy and Braille. Sound interesting? Well, the following comes to us from the Venters.com blog on Friday, December 9th, 2005. Please, try to bear with me on this one. I'll try not to laugh. Okay. Playboy in Braille by Ryan Sack. Most likely, you are surprised that such a thing exists. You are not alone. When I discovered Playboy in Braille years ago, it was in a box in an abandoned building. I found myself in a state of disbelief. The kind you feel when you are being chased by a leprechaun with a crossbow. It's normal to not want Playboy in Braille to exist, because it's weird. It raises too many questions. Questions like, why is the government printing Playboy in Braille? And how do you explain a naked woman to a pubescent, visually impaired teen? Ilka leans against a wall, wearing only a carpenter's tool belt. She's hot. Believe me. Katsumi arches unnaturally over a coffee table. You can see the whole thing. Anja's Mediterranean skin is a warm brown, like the craft paper Playboy you're reading with your finger. Playboy in Braille makes you think. It's exciting, but uncomfortable at the same time. Like Courtney Love, fixing your stove. Run your fingers over the pages, never really knowing if you're touching a gorgeous blonde or an essay by Tom Clancy. Was that Cindy Crawford's bum or an interview with Gore Vidal? Frankly, it's whatever you want it to be. That's the glory of Playboy in Braille. Ahem. Ha 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 ha. Sorry. Let's just carry on. Ahem. This would be a terrible gift for the visually impaired, because you don't give the visually impaired a quarter of a decade-old Playboy as a gift. But for you, put it out on the coffee table like I did. Owning Playboy in Braille is like having a day-glow orange monkey that can curse in Farsi. It gets attention. People talk. You want Playboy in Braille? Playboy in Braille wants you. At least that's what I think it says. And, well, that's it for this week. This is Eddy Mailbag, signing out. Merry Christmas to everybody. Merry Christmas. I wonder if she's in Playboy.
This is Newfoundland's first podcast. You're with the roar.
Yes, and here we are, and we are back. And we survived the show.
I was just going to say that.
You were going to say the exact
We
thing?
survived last night.
We survived it, yes. It was very nice. We we went into the concert. Now, we had a bit of a problem because Lillian bought the tickets in the paper. And that's all fine and dandy. What did you pay, like regular price for them?
No, I got a discount on them.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, $20 off the regular price.
Okay, speak up, please.
$20 off the regular price.
Okay. I think the folks heard that. Yeah. So that was grand. We went in and we have these 2 tickets. So we're legit, you know.
Yes.
We're not trying to sneak in or anything.
Really up front, too.
Really, really good.
4th row from the front.
Yeah. 4th and 5th, apparently.
Yeah.
That was the
D.
problem. That was the
Yeah,
problem.
because I didn't actually look at the seat. I knew it was D or E, something, up in the front. But I think I only looked at one ticket. And I was assuming. I should never assume.
No, that makes an ass of you and me.
Exactly. That there were 2 seats together. Silly me. So we get up to the front, and one is D28 and one is E1, and then it's like, oh God.
Yeah. Because then, I'm sitting in one place and Lillian is sitting way somewhere else, and we're not near each other. We can't talk. I'm basically sitting somewhere surrounded by strangers on all sides. Excuse me. And if anything went wrong, well, that would not be a good situation at all. If suddenly something went drastically wrong and we had to try to make our way out of there. Well, before we could do any of that stuff, Lillian would have had to try to fight her way through a crowd to get to me first, and then we would be thinking about getting out before being burned to death or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
So it was not a good situation.
No, we pondered it for a while, and we sat in some other seats for a while, and it just wasn't looking like the right thing to do, so I went and tracked down an usher, and he brought us down to some empty seats further back.
So what do ushers do? I guess they...
Sure.
What do they do?
They usher.
No, an usher.
Mm-hmm.
An usher does what?
Well, they help people find their
What
seats.
does a talker do?
Talks.
What does a walker do?
Walks.
What does a speaker do?
Speaks.
What does a teller do?
Gives out money.
It tells, a truth teller.
Mm-hmm.
What does an usher do?
Ushers.
I guess he ushers, or she ushers.
Shushes.
To ush. What is to ush?
To ush, I don't know.
Nah, it's nothing to ush.
Do you know what it is?
I guess that's what it is. I don't know. I suppose that's what it is. To ush.
Interesting word.
To ush, yes. I don't get it.
I don't know either, really. We should look it up.
We should look it up, folks. You guys look it up.
Yeah,
Or,
let us know.
or if any of you know, just look it up and let us know. Do ushers ush? Do they indeed ush? And is that why they bear this name? We must know. We can't go by any further in this farcical existence without knowing this thing. Without that being pinned down, our lives are pretty much,
In limbo.
feathers in the wind.
We can't even go any further.
Now, I don't even know if we can talk anymore.
Maybe not.
Anyway, sorry. So you went
Well,
and spoke to
I
the
spoke
usher.
to the guy. The guy in charge.
to he who usheth.
He who looked like he had a badge on, so I thought he was a good guy to talk to.
Okay. Nothing against wearing badges. Anybody can wear a badge, I guess.
Anybody could. You could disguise yourself as an usher.
But you wouldn't want to, because then people would be bothering you to
That's right.
do things.
Hello, can you find me my seat?
Yeah. What would be really fun is to wear a kind of a dress a certain way and wear a little badge that just says some mumbo jumbo on it, like a number or something silly like that. And then just go to a Walmart or one of these places and just walk around. And people come up to you and say, "Excuse me, can you help me?" And it's like, well, I was reading the Bible the other day, and it clearly indicated that God helps those who help themselves. You could have a whole lot of fun in a place like that.
I've done that before, like
You have?
people. No, not that exactly, but gone up to people in like a department store and said,
Who just looked like they were.
they look like they're working there, like they're stacking something on a shelf or something.
I think
go up and say, "Hi, I'm looking for housewares."
I've never ever really cared much about facelifts or anything like that, or worried about my whole overall whatever. But I think that would be time. It's time to totally kind of reinvent yourself. When?
Yeah, for sure. You have to have a look at your wardrobe.
You'd have to pretty much re-examine the whole thing, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Uh-huh.
So, anyway, so we're back to the concert, and I found this fella who looked like he was somewhat in charge, and asked him, if
What
he
we
could,
can do.
Yeah, can you help us here?
So he found us a couple of seats back in row X minus 1.
I think X for sure.
Yeah.
And then he said, "Okay, you guys stay there, and I'll look around, see if there's something I can do, and find you better seats. So just hang out here for a while."
And he did keep an eye, and he did look,
yeah.
and he did come back a couple of times, and
He came back 3 or 4 times.
yeah.
And he said, "No, there's nothing. Just those 2 seats, on either end, kind of far away from each other." So
See,
we
know
got
what?
settled in there.
I have an idea, a little suggestion. I have to interrupt our whole train of thought again.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of the legalization of marijuana and all this stuff. I have to weigh in on this, folks. I think the whole idea that people, smoke in their own homes, and privacy, what you do in your own home. I think that's nonsense. I don't think that should be allowed. I think smoking marijuana should only be allowed in public, at rock concerts and at cafes and things like that. So anyway, go ahead.
I like that idea. Yeah. Well, why not?
Well, it makes it a social thing. It doesn't make it an antisocial sort
exactly.
of thing,
Yeah. Why should it be something that has to be hidden behind closed doors?
Why?
Or
Why?
in-
That's
or
what we
in
want to know.
Alleys and
Yes.
back rooms and.
Now, of course, we don't advocate that anybody do such a thing.
No.
But if you're going to do it right out loud in public.
In public, yeah.
Preferably right in front of or with a police officer.
Well, if everybody did that, then it would be pretty hard for to be controlled, wouldn't it?
If you did it in public?
Yeah, if everybody did it in public.
Probably make it a little easier to control, I'd say. Especially right in front of the police officer.
Yeah, but they can't put everybody in.
Police officer, no give me produce.
In jail.
Yes.
So back to the concert.
Back to the concert, okay.
So
Well, the
into...
reason why I mentioned that was because we smelled that substance
we did.
burning
Big
there.
time, yeah.
And we did not think in any way, shape, or form that this was a horrible thing that, to smell. And it's natural at a rock concert. That smell, it's part of, just as they have smoke on stage, that stuff, and just as they have lights, and just as when they move their mouths, you hear songs, the lyrics and things like that. That smell is part of a rock concert, kids. It's a natural part of it. Maybe
it is,
maybe some of the youngins growing up just don't know what I'm talking about, but it is. It's a natural part of it. So anyway,
surely it is.
But again, people in their own
homes
well. Sitting around doing it, I think it's deplorable. But go ahead.
So we settled into row X with our $3.25 Gatorade.
Row X -1 with their very expensive Gatorade. Yep.
Yep, and so anyway, the way the show started was fabulous. I thought the whole visual part of it.
Yeah.
It was very dynamic, and the visuals on stage were wow.
Really, like what?
Really, really incredible. Actually, it was like almost like a kaleidoscope of guitars going right around the stage.
Like real guitars.
Well, no, it was definitely done.
Like a projection.
No, it wasn't a projection. It was real but fake, if you know what I mean.
No, I have no idea what you mean.
Well, it was a set design, Somebody obviously spent a lot of time, and the whole theme was Steve Miller came out, and when he played, between every song, he'd be handed almost every song a new guitar, a different guitar.
Okay.
So he plays a lot of different kinds of guitars for each song.
Did you know, folks, that there is actually a Steve Miller edition, Martin acoustic guitar?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure.
So anyway, this kaleidoscope of guitars, it was sort of like a vortex, or it was in a spiral, and all the guitars were going around at an angle on a spiral, and they went in, so it almost looked like it was sort of 3D guitars kind of going off into space.
Okay.
And there were lights as well going around, so every song was a little bit different with their lighting and how the lights...
The vibe of the song.
Yeah, the vibe of the song and the colors and everything. It was really fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah.
But because we were back in row X -1 with our $3.25 Gatorade.
Yeah, well, it was harder to see those visuals too.
Yeah, and the sound was kind of muddy. The whole thing. I think you sound guys out there, there's this whole thing you got going on. You got if the sound's not quite right, and it takes you, 6 songs in to get the sound together, that kind of has a weighing effect on the whole overall show. So it takes the show, and instead of taking it from level up to the point where you want it to go, it actually drags it back and pulls it down. So if it takes you 6 songs to get the sound working, and then then the performer or performers, it's going to take them 2 or 3 songs after that, once it levels off, to get the crowd up to where the music and the crowd up to where it should be. Then you're what? You're you're 8 or 9 songs into the show.
Yeah.
Before the whole thing is really happening.
Yeah, I had that vibe myself. Like I really felt that.
Yeah.
It almost felt like, even for them, it almost felt like it was just what would you call that? Like a
what?
Demo or something, like
the
first part of
it was all very kind of flat and muffled, very indistinct. It was everything was set at safe. There's a thing in sound, you want to play it safe. You don't want feedback. Feedback is the scourge. Well, sometimes you're better off getting everything where it should go, being a little bit wrong, and watching your meters and seeing once the instant something feeds back, you can see that it's on number 3, and just dive at the number 3 and just pull it back a little bit. You're better off with a little squeal here and there. Overall sound and energy, an overall mix that energizes the crowd, gets the whole thing. The show is right out, right out of the gate. It's rocking.
Yeah.
Anyway, because we're sitting back in these seats and because the sound is kind of muddy, it wasn't so great at the beginning, but after a while the sound came together. And what do you figure the turning point was?
For me, the turning point was when Steve Miller played solo.
Yeah.
And that was probably, like you say, 6 or 7 songs into it.
And the whole thing about that again is for the sound guys, that was easy. It was one voice and a guitar. I found the biggest problem they had really right from the beginning, and it got better as time went on, but the drums. That was the biggest problem. The bass was lost, the drums were lost. You could hear like guitars and pianos, and you could hear people singing and all that kind of stuff, but the rhythm section, the whole thing that drives the whole show. It's funny because visually, it's guitars everywhere. That's fine. But quite frankly, folks, the music is, and it's not just for reggae, for rock and roll too. If you get that drums, you get that drum kit and that bass, filling that room up real nice and sounding good, then honestly, guitars and keyboards and things are secondary.
Yeah.
The main thing, number one, is the drums and the bass. Number two, the vocals, and then you add in your guitars and keyboards and stuff like that.
It was a little heavy on the guitar, wasn't it?
It was very heavy on the guitar, and henceforth the energy wasn't there in the music.
Yeah.
When you take something like and then the guitars come in. Well, the guitars were way over the top, and the whole rhythm section fell out.
Yeah.
But when Steve was there solo, like I said, the sound guys had very little to deal with. I don't know who did sound. So, I understand you lads and lasses have a lot to deal with. People coming in, you only got limited time to do sound checks and things like that. But it's not a brand new venue. It's not the first time sound was ever done in that venue. It's not the first time speakers were ever used in that venue. It's not the first time drums were ever mic'd up in that venue. There should be a kind of a template, that you, band to band. Quite frankly, what did they have? They had a couple of electric guitars. They had a bass guitar. They had a drum kit. They had people singing. I think maybe one song, maybe Living in the USA. There was a harmonica, but whatever. A lot of bands are very, very similar configurations, a couple of electric guitars, a bass guitar, a drum kit, some people singing. That for that room should be no work. You shouldn't have to start from scratch and ring out the room. In fact, with the boards these days, digital boards, for example, if I were doing sound there last night, when everything had gotten up to a point and everything was good, and I know that I have electric guitars here and there, I can make notes. Not all electric guitars are exactly the same. Like a Fender Mustang doesn't sound like a Gretsch or whatever. But an electric guitar and a bass guitar and a drum kit and the overall level, you should pretty much be able to take for that room. And that's what a lot of the sound stuff is about. It's not as much about the band and mixing the band. It's about the room. It's about an appropriate level that kind of resonates the room. It's taking out the bad frequencies in that room so you're not having woofiness and feedback and stuff like that. And you should be able to pretty much dial it all up. Stick the mics that on the snare and the kick and the toms and the overheads and whatever, vocal mics, the channels that you have, your DIs from your electric guitars and basses and whatever you're using, whatever mics you have on bass amps, all that stuff. That should all be before the band even comes for the sound check. That's all going, so that when the band gets on stage, you're only making minor adjustments to allow for the mix. And like I said, different electric guitars and different basses and different vocals. Different voices have different EQ characteristics and things. Anyway, like I say, we know that your job isn't easy, but it seems to me that in my time doing live performances and things like that, there's always a reinventing the wheel going on, and a starting from scratch each show, even in venues, small venues, pubs and things, where you have a very simple board there, and the person coming in this night has an acoustic guitar and a voice, and the person there last night had an acoustic guitar and a voice. And a lot of times it's the same guitar, it's like a Takamine. They just plug it in and they just start playing and singing. Well, I see each individual artist come in, not always, I think the smarter ones don't do this, or maybe the smarter ones do this. That's the problem. And they'll just take the board and they'll wipe it. They'll just put everything back to, unity gain, or what I mean, put everything in the middle, and start from scratch and have to do a whole sound check again. I mean, if I was playing somewhere, on a Friday night, and I went and saw the act on the Thursday night, and they started out muffled and feeding back and all this, and eventually by the end of the night they sounded really good. Well, I would have a quick sound check the next. I would go over to them and say, "Great sound. Hey, listen, don't touch the board, okay? Leave that for me tomorrow night." It's a compliment to them that they, you're telling them that they, that they did a good job on the sound, whatever. And it makes your job, instead of a big tangly sound check the next day yourself, you're just going in there and you're plugging in your guitar, which might be slightly different than the other person's, and your voice might be slightly different. So, and you make a couple little mental notes, and your sound check is like 5 minutes. You plug in, you just slightly change the EQ for your guitar, you slightly add in a little bit of high or scoop out a little bit of mid on your voice, and then just pack it up and go and relax, and you're ready to play. So I think, this whole reinventing the wheel and starting from scratch, I don't think it's necessary. I don't get it. But I guess the last thing I'll say about that is, when Steve got up, it's not just the sound. There's the other side of it as well. It's the focus, because you had a whole big band and a whole lot of stuff going on. But when he got up just with his guitar, it was an easier job for the sound crew, and it was also easier for the people, because there's something to focus on. Like when I played at the Celtic Connections festival in Glasgow, I mean, I've seen it before, but this was so stark that it springs to mind. There were a whole bunch of really big bands on stage. I mean, the group that was on before me had, like 2 keyboards and 2 electric guitars and an electric bass and drum kit and percussion and extra percussion and pipes and whistles and fiddles and all singers and dancers and all kinds of things. So here's this big huge thing going on, and then little me has to get up with my little guitar just by myself and follow that. You might want to run down the wings with your tail between your legs and say, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm afraid. But the way it actually turned out was this whole big wall of sound before me. It case hardens people. You kind of, you get overamped, your senses or whatever. So everything just turns into a kind of a mush. And then when I got out and got introduced, as some cat from Newfoundland or whatever, and it's just me and my guitar, and I started out with whatever I started out with, I can't remember, Rising of the Moon or Rhythm of the Goat or something. It was all of a sudden the wall of confusion had disappeared, and there was this clear thing that you could focus on, and every lyric that I was delivering was easy to follow, and every little thing I did on the guitar was really clear and discernible, and all my dynamics when I was playing and singing a bit louder or a little bit lower, you could feel that. And so I was kind of like some sort of super conductor conducting an orchestra, so that the slightest little move of my baton, that they all simultaneously exactly reacted. Where before you had this big woofy thing that was kind of smushy. When I got up, it was clear, and right away, I mean, I had the whole crowd kind of in the palm of my hand. It was, but that's the focus. That A, it's easier for the sound people, and B, it's easier for the people in the audience to focus on something like that, one point of light, as opposed to trying to focus on, I don't know, Aurora Borealis or something,
That makes sense, and it can be done. Like, watching that last night, and it's such a huge crowd there, and he started playing solo, and it was actually just pulled it off. Like, it was excellent.
Well, somebody could say, for all the right reasons, and no offense to any other musicians, that it was better. It might have been better if he had just come with an acoustic guitar, and just got up on stage and played the whole time like that.
I know. I was actually, that entered my mind as well. Like, it was. I just enjoyed it so much.
Yep.
And
what do you need? I mean, if it's Steve Miller in the flesh and it's his acoustic guitar. Boy, this goes back to a long discussion ongoing for decades now. As a producer, you get musicians in the studio and you're recording a song for a record. And I have in the past run into people with this absolute horrible phobia about putting something in a song, or might I reword that, letting a song, put whatever it needs in itself. And I'm the medium. I'm not the person. A lot of people have this idea about producers as being kind of these sort of self-important people with big opinions or something like that. Smoking a cigar, throwing tantrums on the other side of the glass pane, whatever. But no, I mean, you if you're a producer, it's your job to work with the music. The music itself tells you, and that's part of your skill as a producer / arranger, whatever the case may be, to find the bugs, to work the bugs out of arrangements, and using good engineering techniques, working with good engineers, get guitars sounding the way you need them to sound for this particular song you're recording, and get flutes to sound the way you need them. And it's not always just trying to get the best flute sound, because whatever, you might be looking for something specific for a song. But the point is, the song tells you that, and that's why that's why you're getting paid the big bucks as a producer. You can get beyond the musician who the songwriter, who in most cases has a real big objectivity problem, because he or she feels like it's his or her baby, and it's just the cutest baby in the world, and you can't say, well, what about that wart on its nose, or you got this kid dressed in this color and it just doesn't suit, as somebody else looking at your baby. Well, yeah, it might be, all babies are generally cute, but you think yours is the cutest in the world, and I got to tell you, I can, you're doing all these things that make this, child look abhorrent or whatever, So, anyway, the argument that the fear that I've experienced is people not wanting to put anything into a song that they can't replicate on stage, and I've run into it. Not incessantly, but I have run into it, and these people are just really afraid. But a song, it when it needs something, when the song is communicating to you as the producer, and it says it needs something, and it needs something for itself, and it needs something for the listeners who are going to have to listen to this freaking song, when the record is done. It's too whatever. It's either too over the top. It needs to be tamed in a little bit, or it's too flat and repetitive, and all these great lyrics, verse after verse after verse, are getting lost because we're getting back to that mushy effect. There's no dynamic, there's nothing changing, there's nothing developing, there's no ebb, there's no flow. You know what I mean? It's not all about just making music for a lowest common denominator, attention span. It's about movement. It's about ebb and flow and up and down dynamics, and wrapping the music around the lyrics, or even in the case of instrumental music, wrapping the music around that lead flute or lead guitar or lead whistle or fiddle or whatever the heck it is. But these people get frightened to death. They come to you and they're a group, and they've got drums, bass, fiddle, guitar. So every song then has to be drums, bass, fiddle, guitar, drums, bass, fiddle, guitar, drums, bass, fiddle, guitar. And you suggest to them, can we just take the drums and the bass out of this one? And just, let's just start it with the fiddle. Let's just have the violin slowly fading in on this at the beginning. And then let's bring the acoustic guitar in and establish something else. And then, hey drummer, hey drummy, can you play a bit of percussion or extra percussion? Have you ever played a wind chime? Can you shake a tambourine? Can you play a conga? Well, we don't have a conga in the band, and we don't do that on stage. Well, that we're not on stage now. That's the point. So anyway, I have run into that fear, but I have always maintained to these people, and I'm thinking about particular people, say in the a long time ago. Let's put it that way. I won't pinpoint any times and date myself or whatever. But I have told these people, I said, look, when you're there in the flesh, you could have the London Symphony Orchestra on this record, and if we have the London Symphony available and we have a song that's screaming for a symphonic arrangement, then I think we should do that for the record. It's going to make a strong record. And if you have a strong record that gets out, well, if it's not just the same old guitar, bass, drum, whatever that everybody else is doing, if a song has character and you let that character come through, then that song is going to endear itself to a lot more people. It's going to get those records out further to more people. It's going to get into people's psyche, into people's hearts and minds, and win you a whole lot more. In other words, when it's time for you at some point thereafter to go out and play, it's going to make it easier for you to get gigs. It's going to make it easier for you to have more people show up at the shows. And if, for example, we're talking about yesterday or something like that, if Paul McCartney, in the midst of the Beatles concert, just pulls out an acoustic guitar and he doesn't have all the violins and cellos and everything that was on the record, just Paul himself, and he sings Yesterday, the crowd just gets up out of their seats and they scream and yeah, and then they sit back down and you can hear a pin drop and he sings the whole song, and afterward they erupt again. The crowd's not sitting there going, well, yeah, where's the cellos, where's the violins, oh, that's not like on the record at all. That's not how people react. No. So I've told people that, and I was sorry for folks for being a little bit long-winded on this and perhaps a little bit passionate. But no, I have to say, I really do have to say, I was right. And I was living it, myself. I was recording records, for myself, producing my own records, and letting those things go into the songs that needed, drum kit here, or some boron over there, some whistle and this, that. Not overly complicating it and putting, 48 tracks on every song just because I could. But then I would go out and I would just show up somewhere with an acoustic guitar and get up on stage and sing that song that's on the record. And how many times over the years have people come up to me and said, my God, it was just you and your guitar, but I could hear the whole band in my head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So in case you're listening and you're well, maybe even a seasoned musician or recording artist, but especially if you're budding, if you're just pretty much getting into it, you're new, or you want to in the future, that's something not to worry about. A record is a record, and the stage is the stage. You want to make that record as good as it can be, regardless of what the stage is all about, and you want to make that live show as good as it can be, regardless of what the record is. They're totally separate entities altogether, and never the twain shall meet. And if anything, if you record a really great record, well, that might end up, forcing you to get your butt in action and improve your live show, and realize that this 3-piece band you got ain't gonna cut it. You might want to look at, because of the songwriting style or whatever, you might be writing songs that really, really would work well with if you had a multi-instrumentalist added to the group who can play a bit of fiddle, a bit of whistle, a bit of mandolin, if you write music like that, it just might help if the songs when you go into the studio seem to be all screaming out for this stuff, then and you don't have it in your live show, but it's in your songs, And you're always playing a pared down version. So anyway, I think I made my point. Yeah.
Well said.
Yes, thank you. So, that being said, and that whole business, the show unfolded, and it was really good.
Yeah, it was. It was a fantastic show, and I think everybody there, I mean, the crowd were incredible. Like they were so appreciative, and it was near the end of the show, like there were people running up in front of the stage dancing, and people standing up on the floor, boogieing and boogieing and clapping, and the whole place was gone.
Well, to boogie, people say that I think it comes from bougie, which is a candle. So you're lighting up, that's the thing.
Yeah,
that's what that's all about. It's like you're like a candle. Your flame is on the go, and it's darting around and stuff like that.
That's exactly, yeah.
That's where that comes from. So to pronounce it properly, actually to call it boogie is not right. It's bougie.
It sounds better anyway, doesn't it?
I think so.
So
I'm your bougie man.
Yeah, and they really did a professional show, I thought.
Well, they're professionals.
Yeah, exactly.
Why shouldn't they?
They really put the effort, like the
thought
professionalism, thought.
Yeah.
The whole thing actually was very well done.
We've talked about that before too, the whole idea of just being natural, just showing up with whatever torn up jeans you got on and jumping up on stage and, with ketchup stains on your chin and stuff like that. And you know what, folks, I've talked about this before. If you want to do something really stripped down, you want to do rootsy, as stripped down and rootsy as you can. Well, boy, I'll tell you, it takes an awful lot of extra work to give something that appearance of or that sound of being totally au naturel. It's not as easy as you might think. Just to go au naturel, you just go au naturel and you don't think about it. No, because anything you do, no matter what it is, when you're cooking something or whatever, it's not just a matter of throwing whatever in the bowl at whatever time and just hoping for the best and you're going to come out with a really good cake. I mean, it takes just the right ingredients, and they have to be added together in just the right sequence and all that stuff. So the whole idea about if it's looking, the spontaneity and all that stuff, if you really want to have music, a lot of it's planned spontaneity is what I'm telling you. I'm giving you a little bit of an insight in the sense that, kind of destroys a bit of the magic, but it shouldn't destroy it, because what I'm telling you is the magic is real. But in order to be able to have that magic, you're touring 50 cities, then you don't do everything the exact same way each time. It is a kind of a planned spontaneity, because in order for that spontaneity to be allowed to happen, you can't be running damage control during each song. So you have to have certain agreed upon things that people know that makes the music consistent and tight and gives people a framework, a kind of a monkey bars that they can dart in and out of. But if that framework isn't there in the beginning, then you're just getting what I guess people might call a jam, which means all the guys who know each other and have played together 1,000 times have to get up and try to pretend like they just met. So there's nothing natural or honest or anything about that at all. It's the strength of their experience playing together, them all knowing, each other's characteristics, and then they can weave in and out of that and improvise on top of that.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's the ting, folks, Yeah. That's the ting. Yes.
I had just one brief experience that I can kind of relate to, knowing how that feels.
Yep.
Is I was in a dance class, and there was a recital at the end of the year, and I don't think I took it very seriously. Like, I was very busy with other things, and I wasn't practicing as much as I should have and stuff. And just before the recital, it was at the Arts and Culture Center, and I didn't realize that there were going to be that many people there.
Aye.
So here I am, like, backstage before still trying to remember my steps. And there was only 8 of us, in this thing, so.
So you couldn't even get lost in the crowd or anything?
And there was no rehearsal. So, and here we are on the stage, and it's like there were a lot of people there. And when I got out there, I realized that, when you are out on stage, you have
a responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have a responsibility to the audience, really.
Yeah.
And I realized that, and I was so sorry that I didn't learn my steps better, because if I did, then I could have been probably more natural and more kind of like filling out,
That's exactly right, yeah. Because, what's the point about a bunch of people come out, a bunch of dancers come out on stage and they're all out of sync with each other and, oh yeah, but it was so natural and spontaneous.
That doesn't work.
It doesn't work,
No.
And the guys, I'll tell you, I'm here lashing out. This episode is like, I don't know, whatever. I was listening back a little bit to the, before the show when we were out talking. And because I got a bum leg here, it was taking me a whole bunch of extra effort just to walk along, and so I could hear myself kind of, laboring. And I'll tell you, after, it's my right leg that's hurt. After the show, when we got to where we went down to the pub for a little bit afterward. Boy, I'll tell you, my left leg was shaky, because it had been compensating for the right leg. But anyway, I'm listening back, and I'm hearing myself laboring, and I'm talking about what I'm talking about and all that stuff. And boy, it's just like, I was thinking to myself, wow, this is like, this is the World According to Jim show or whatever. I sounded like some kind of a codger of some kind, Yeah, anyway, so that's
sure
that for
you were
that.
being more critical.
Huh?
You were probably being more self-critical than anybody would.
Well, that's where it all lies, really, where it all comes from.
Yeah.
That's where it all comes from. It's your own experience, and it's just information. It's not someone's opinion that you're, trying to force your opinion on somebody else. It's your observation.
Yeah. Sure.
And if you can share your observation with people, they can take it for what it's worth and put it in their basket with all the observations they get from everywhere else, and then exercise some discernment on their own part. That's what it's all about. Everyone who's trying to give you a little bit of information, don't fight them. Stop fighting everyone who has a little tidbit for you. Just decide whether or not you want to throw it in your basket. A lot of times it's just as well to put it in your basket anyway, no matter where it comes from. And with all the other little bits that you gather up from elsewhere, dots will connect and puzzles will be completed and things like that. If you're just focusing on the one thing, worried about the sources and every single bit of information you get from wherever it's coming from, you've got to attack it and try to tear it apart and
judge it and filter
it and cancel it and twist it into something else. And what's the point, So anyway, yeah, that's part of one of the things I was saying there was that whole business and about the roar being, what do we do? Just, we're having a lovely time here and the sun is shining and we're listening to some fiddle music and watching some butterflies.
Yeah.
Oh,
I agree.
It's not all about that.
No, absolutely not.
Our life,
that's not what we tend to be like.
It's not our life anyway, is it?
No.
We
talk about all kinds of stuff.
we can talk about all kinds of stuff and that's kind of, I guess, our prerogative, and we hope that that you all enjoy that perspective or whatever it is. We're not this is not the Newfie show. This show is not. We are here. We live in the Republic of Avalon, which for all our good friends off the Avalon Peninsula is not some sort of towny superiority thing at all. It's just an interesting thing. I talk about that in earlier episodes with the Republic of Avalon, how it's kind of funny because that's the way it seems. In Newfoundland, it's sort of like that. It's like you got New York State and you got New York City, and they're really two different New Yorks altogether. For example, you got Ontario, you got all them places and all them lakes and rivers, and then you got Toronto. It's like a different place. So in a sense, this place out here, in the mind's eye of people outside of St. John's, for example, it's mostly off the Avalon Peninsula. So you meet people in Gander and Stephenville and Corner Brook and St. Albans and St. Anthony, and all these people have a totally different outlook on St. John's. St. John's is a very, very different sort of place in the midst of all those other places, and We're not saying good or bad or anything. It's just totally different. So in that sense, we got this Republic of Avalon radio thing going on, and it's not we're not here to just be whatever stereotypical whatever stereotype of Newfoundlanders somebody might expect, or Newfies as we get called by other people. And yes, that word is used by some Newfoundlanders, mostly expatriates. We've talked about that before. Newfoundlanders who go away from home and they're homesick, and they eat things that they didn't eat when they were home, and they listen to music that they didn't listen to when they were home, and they use words that they didn't use when they were home. And Newfie's one of them, and it's fine. It's just a word. That's the point.
That's right. It depends on what you start thinking about.
That's
the
right.
Word and
Exactly.
But it is just a word.
Words are just words. If somebody takes a word like flower, flower is a fine word. But if somebody comes over to you and grabs you by the neck and says, "I hate you, flower," then the meaning of the word flower becomes totally different. Than, wow, look at that beautiful flower. Or when your dad takes you for a waltz on your wedding day and says, can Daddy have this dance, my beautiful flower? It's just totally different meaning. Words are just words, so it's the meaning behind them. But anyway, we're off on a whole other topic. The point about Republic of Avalon Radio and the show and what we do is we share our lives with you and our thoughts and our observations and so on and so forth. And we hope that there's food for thought. The whole idea is that we have minds and we should think. We have hearts. We should feel. We have spirits. We should fly. We have bodies. We should get active. All that kind of stuff. And we're not here strictly for your entertainment as a stereotype of these people up on this island somewhere that, with leprechauns and all that stuff. We're actually really real, living, breathing people with hearts and minds and souls and bodies. And there might be some food for thought from time to time based on our life experience that we share with you for free. And that's pretty much what it's all about. And we imagine at some point looking back at this and playing this back, listening to this when we're, in our rocking chairs and thinking, boy, it was worth it, that we didn't just sort of play the game, do whatever, that we had our eyes open and our ears open, and we actually shared our lives and some information with some other people. And we do hear stories. I guarantee you, dear listener, that instead of like musically, I could have gone this way or that way. Any musician, it's a choice thing, and I could right now have a lot more money in the bank and be doing whatever in terms of that stuff than I do now. But I made choices. I bit some bullets along the way, and it was all about self-integrity and integrity of the music and all that kind of stuff. And I have no regrets whatsoever about any of it. Now, yeah, I would like it if more of my CDs were selling, and they were more widely available and things like that. Yes, I would. But I didn't make any deals with the devil and all that kind of stuff. So here I am, and yeah. It's a good thing. Yes. But we do want to get the music out to more people, for sure. So send all your friends over to jimfiddler.com and buy up them CDs.
Yeah. And you can listen to, have a listen to each individual CD samples, just to...
Nah, I don't even need to do that.
Oh, just buy them all.
No, it's all sincere stuff, so...
It is, yeah.
No, it's not just about egos and chicks and cars and stuff like that. It's real music. It's real people. Folk music. What is folk music? Well, Steve Miller Band is folk music. Eddie Grant is folk music. Bob Marley is folk music. Christy Moore is folk music. Woody Guthrie is folk music, and Jim Fiddler is folk music. It's people music. So if you are a people, you there's something there for you.
Yes.
All right. So good show, good concert.
Yeah.
To the pub.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of pints, and we were talking to a few friends, and came home, and ended off a very nice day.
Yeah, it was a nice cap off for your birthday.
Yeah, definitely. And big thanks to everybody who sent birthday wishes and all that stuff. I guess the general consensus seemed to be that people just wanted me to just have a nice day and all these things, and I did. So I think maybe whatever, your wishes didn't go astray. We didn't disobey you. Fate didn't come out contrary.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm very glad.
Perhaps the collective goodwill might have helped fate. You never know.
Sure.
All right, so that's pretty much it for this episode of The Roar. I guess the next episode will be coming
Yes.
ASAP.
To a speaker or headphone.
Near you.
There you go.
Yep, indeed. So take care of each other, and we'll catch you next time. Right here. Republic
Of
Avalon
Radio.
A Root Cellar production.